Should you buy Jedi Fallen Order? What's up, guys? I'm Xandar Rates Games. I play games to tell you if they're worth buying post-launch. The year is 2019. We just found out what black holes look like. Apex Legends burst onto the gaming scene with literally zero warning. Red Dead Redemption 2 finally made it to PC, and EA's Battlefront 2 was still causing controversy 2 full years after it launched. Though the game industry was looking bright, the Star Wars side of the industry had never been darker. In the midst of all this, Respawn Entertainment announced it was working on a new Star Wars project, Jedi Fallen Order, still riding the high off of Apex Legends earlier in the year. Jedi Fallen Order is a game that has an identity crisis. With a beautiful opening followed by a long series of platforming to kick off the tutorial, a new player could be forgiven for thinking the game was taking cues from the Uncharted and Tomb Raider series. Throughout the game after the tutorial, Cal will frequently be treated to grandiose views and dramatic set pieces, with a camera fixed on a distant view that was at once awe-inspiring and made the player feel tiny. Transitioning from this early exploration to the combat tutorial that followed will throw a player through a loop, as what they thought was Uncharted turns into Dark Souls and Sekiro with blasters and lightsabers. During the combat tutorial, you are introduced to the core system of attack combos, blocks, parries, and dodging. The game isn't winning any points for creativity, but the implementation is tight, and on higher difficulties, the challenge is rewarding without getting in the way of enjoyment. The first few Stormtrooper squads are a learning curve, but the boss fight that follows is what teaches you that you know nothing about fighting yet. As the game progresses, you will find harder enemies, shrinking margins for error, and terrifying bosses at once familiar and new to topple. After you have cleared the tutorial, the game will slow down, more gently introducing the rest of the game's systems. Even if the first boss was a bucket of ice water, most enemies encountered will be beatable, and most puzzles easy to understand. There will be signs of upgrades to come, however. Cal is not a full Jedi, and you will frequently encounter locked rooms and unsolvable puzzles as you explore the first few maps. Over the course of the story, Cal reconnects with the Force, relearning old skills as he does so. With these skills, new avenues of explorations will open. Where once there was an unbreakable wall, you can make a door. A chasm a few feet too wide, you can clear with ease. Not only will new areas open, but old areas will become deeper. Hidden secrets that were unreachable or deactivated will open up for the player's eyes. The constant drip feed of skills comes with an uptick in enemy quality. Where the majority of enemies encountered early in the game will be fodder stormtroopers, the Empire will deploy specialized units. New enemies will take the stage, hitting harder and faster as you learn the timing inherent to the combat system. Learning skill is no longer enough. Now you have to master it. The game will take you through a familiar galaxy and to unfamiliar places. For fans of the movies, there's a quick visit to Kashyyyk, featuring plentiful Wookiee roaring. Where the game's connection to other media shines, though, is in its reference to the animated shows. Saw Gerrera makes an appearance in Kashyyyk, appearing briefly to show some of his early antics as a rebel freeing enslaved Wookiees. Dathomir will make an equally prominent appearance. Lacking outright character appearances, the shadows of the Clone Wars are still strong here. Grievous is mentioned and casts a long shadow as the undead ghouls hunting you across the ruins and swamps are as terrifying as they ever were on TV. The open world of the game is packed with content to explore, and without a fast travel system, you will explore, whether you want to or not. From beautiful scenery to aggressive wildlife, the game wows. To keep you engaged in that world between fights, the devs sprinkled the maps with chests holding cosmetic items, ability upgrades, and lore drops to paint a picture of the galaxy as it is under the Empire's shadow. Treasure hunting is only half of the exploration. The other half is the game's punishing list of optional bosses. The first and most infamous of whom is Ogdo Bogdo. Capable of being found within an hour of finishing the tutorial, Ogdo Bogdo and the 3 other hidden bosses are likely the hardest encounters in the game. The galaxy of Fallen Order is a dangerous place for the unprepared. Finding one of these bosses without preparation can stop you in your tracks. Alternatively, if you want to see how good you really are, the tight timing and heavy hits of these can show mastery over the game. Gameplay is important, of course, but what about story? This is a Star Wars game, and that comes with some expectations, even in 2019 with EA's Battlefronts casting a shadow. Did Fallen Order live up to the heights of Knights of the Old Republic and The Force Unleashed? Or did it live down to the more recent Battlefront games? Well, it did its best. Taking their cues from those older games, the writers centered the story on new characters. The concept of a surviving Padawan was still fresh in 2019. Add to that the expansion on Inquisitors from Rebels as terrifying agents of the Empire, there were good bones for a story to build on. The writers decided to craft a story independent of the rest of canon. Instead of following old routes such as starting the rebellion or personally confronting Vader and the Empire as Starkiller once did, Cal's story is personal. With the assistance of deep and well-rounded supporting characters, he embarks instead on securing a holocron that could be used to rebuild the Jedi Order. Going in, any player who has seen the movies know how that story will end. But how it ends proves to be a magnificent ride. Cal's quest took him to the tombs of lost civilizations, through Imperial prisons, back to the crystal catacombs of Ilum. The Jedi Order cannot be canonically established yet, but in the midst of the story, you can forget that Cal is destined to fail. When the plot ultimately wraps, you are left content and satisfied in the journey it took to get here. But did the game live up or down to expectations? And is it meeting those expectations today? Well, on launch, the game surprised players. The story's execution was tight, if rushed towards the end. The gameplay was enjoyable, and despite being derivative, the NPCs were interesting, and most players were invested in the story by the ending. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though. Critics were quick to note that, though stunning at times, the graphics were unpolished. Minor gameplay glitches and frequent clipping of textures could pull a player out of immersion. Furthermore, the devs' decision to include frequent slides to progress through levels proved massively unpopular, as the controls were deemed not nearly responsive enough for the tight movements necessary. So, how is the game now? It's been 5 years since launch, and a good deal of growth has been had. Respawn has corrected all technical glitches encountered, and as of my own playthroughs, I couldn't find anything. You can still encounter minor technical glitches around outfits mostly, such as the ponchos, but these are forgivable and vary, especially depending on the hardware you're running the game on. The slides never went away, sadly, but with a little practice, they proved far less offensive than first believed to be by most players. So how did Fallen Order do? Well, spectacularly. The game was warmly received by fans, despite the technical glitches. Now having spawned a sequel with a third game well on the way, Fallen Order is rightly viewed as having kicked off a new era of Star Wars gaming. If you want a fun romp through the Star Wars universe, this game is for you, and it is absolutely worth buying in 2024. If you want to check the game out on Steam, the base game will cost you $40. The game does go on sale regularly, so I recommend putting it on your wish list and checking it out around any major holiday or May 4th. Will you buy Jedi Fallen Order? I'm Xandar Rates Games. I play games because they're cool. You watched all the way through the video, and that makes you cool too. Question for you before you go. What's your favorite lightsaber color? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.